Like, I trusted them when they told me to get the passport photo. And this is what I get in return. Mocked. When it came time for me to take my dental anatomy course, which admittedly was the first class that I ever took in dental school, like 2 weeks into dental school. So I got an iPad 2 weeks into dental school. Also, along the same lines, books. Can I say you don't need them? Am I allowed? Hello world! Welcome back to my YouTube channel. I feel like it's a little too bright in here right now. Welcome back to my YouTube channel. My name is Connie if you're new here, and I am a third year as of yesterday actually. I am a third year dental student. Wow, that sounds crazy to say. I took my last final as a second year dental student, thank the Lord. Okay, let me go get my tripod. I thought that I could do this introduction without the tripod. I was wrong. Okay, much better. Alright, we are gathered here today on my living room floor because it is the end of July, which means that you guys out there watching this video are now out in the world starting dental schools, which is so exciting. Are you sure you want to do this? No, really, you can tell me. Are you sure you want to do this? I'm just kidding, dentistry is great. So since so many of you guys are out there starting dental schools, I thought that it would be fun to give a complete, comprehensive, detailed guide on what to know, do, bring, or buy before dental school. Sound good? Okay, not that you have a choice. But before we get started, like I said, I'm a third year dental student, but I'm also a licensed pharmacist. If you guys are curious why I made the switch from pharmacy to dentistry, I'll link the video down below that you guys can watch. So let's get into it. So the first section I'm going over is financial tips for when you're starting dental school. So my first tip is a little bit off the book, but basically my best tip is don't buy everything that they tell you to straight off the bat. I know that's kind of like counterintuitive, but I'm just really trying to help you guys save your coin. My best tip for this is if you ask older, like upperclassmen, if they think that getting this thing is really necessary, because they're going to have the insight on like, yes, we did use this a lot and it was really helpful. Or they're gonna tell you, no, we didn't use this at all, don't waste your money and don't bother buying this. You can also try reaching out and asking classmates in your own class if they're planning on buying something, and then maybe they can tell you like, oh, I heard from someone you don't need this. Chances are someone's gonna tell you either not to buy something because it wasn't really that helpful or needed, or they're gonna at least give you a cheaper alternative or something like that. For example, I don't know why this still angers me so much, it really shouldn't, but from my personal experience when I was starting dental school, they asked us to mail them this like specific type of like passport photo basically that they needed for like IDs or something like that. It was something stupid. It ended up just being like a photo in a PowerPoint presentation, like not even an official document. But anyways, they asked us to get this passport style photo done. So I specifically went to freaking CVS to get a passport photo done, and it cost me $14 because it had to be like the specific style and whatnot. And you know how passport photos are, like you have to have your ears tucked behind, you have to like not smile. It was like a terrible photo. And then I went to school and found out that A, no one else paid for the passport style photo. Everyone just took these photos on their iPhones and printed it off at home. And then B, this ugly ass photo was used for like this giant presentation on like, welcome these new students to the school, and like the whole school got to see it, and I looked so bad in the photo. This day, that literally bothers me so much. Like I trusted them when they told me to get the passport photo. And this is what I get in return. Mocked. Also, along the same lines, books. Can I say you don't need them? Am I allowed to say that here? I don't know why I'm looking off into the distance. Yeah, I never buy books, I never read books, and I'm doing just fine. Chances are there's gonna be some online version of the book, some free copy of the book, a cheaper copy of the book. Actually, chances are you won't read the book because no one I know really reads the book. Along the same line, other ways to save money. I know that cycle of where you like buy food because you're trying to reward yourself for studying, and then after the said test, then you buy more food to reward yourself for taking the test, and then it's just like this whole cycle. I know that cycle. Try your best to save money on food. Also, especially coffee. Coffee is something that for some reason when I was in pharmacy school, I thought that I would study best if I bought coffee at a coffee shop. I spent so much money at Starbucks, and now I've learned my favorite coffee is actually coffee that I make at home with like a normal pot. Like she ain't even like a fancy Nespresso or nothing. Trust me, you don't need to buy expensive coffee every day. And another big area that you can save money on is scrub. Number one, you're probably actually not gonna wear scrubs as often as you think. I thought that I would have to wear scrubs like every single day of my life, but at least in my school, we only have to wear scrubs when we're in the building taking like a specific like lab kind of class. This advice is also a little bit off the books, but there's a school dress code usually for most schools, right? School dress code is usually like business casual plus scrubs, like something like that. So for us, we actually only have to wear scrubs during our lab courses where we're practicing hand skills and stuff like that. Other times when we're like sitting there in lecture, we don't have to wear scrubs. So in the beginning of the year, a lot of people dressed up. We wore business casual, dressed to the nines. I like curled my hair and did, you know, went all out all the time. As the year progresses, you will start to see it gets a little business casual minus the business. It gets more casual. So I actually have like 4 pairs of scrubs right now. If I was just starting out dental school and I was trying to save money, I would honestly recommend only getting like 2 pairs of scrubs, maybe 3 if you're feeling real fancy, just because, yeah, I don't really wear these guys that much anymore. And honestly, you don't really need to buy these super fancy, you know, like name brand scrubs. Like I know they have Figs and Janu and blah blah blah. These are my favorite scrubs ever, these black scrubs, and they're from Uniform Advantage, and I'm pretty sure they're like the cheapest scrubs that I have. Okay, now let me go into things that you can bring to dental school to save you guys money. Number 1, badge reels. Do not underestimate the importance of badge reels, okay? Here's why. When I was coming to dental school, I didn't really realize how important your like student ID really was, but you need that thing to get in everywhere. You need that thing to get into the door, to get into school on the weekends, to get into certain parts of the building once you see patients. It actually is pretty convenient. I wouldn't tell you guys to get something or bring something unless you absolutely need it, and so this I highly recommend. Number 2, worn-in shoes, which is counterintuitive that you bring old dirty shoes to dental school, because when you start dental school, you know, you want them fresh scrubs, you want the nicest everything possible, the newest whatever. Here's why you need slightly older shoes. 1, they're more comfy, but 2, your shoes are probably gonna get destroyed between doing anatomy lab and, you know, doing lab. Things get messy in lab. I feel very Asian mom in this whole video, but like, I'm just trying to help you guys, okay? Number 3, bring a robe. There's really no reason. I just love robes, and I think that everyone should experience the joy and comfort of a robe. Okay, this one is controversial. An iPad and an Apple Pencil. When I started out dental school, all I had was a laptop. I thought maybe like, I didn't understand the importance of iPads really, but then once I started dental school, I personally decided to invest in an iPad when it came time for me to take my dental anatomy course, which admittedly was the first class that I ever took in dental school, like 2 weeks into dental school. So I got an iPad 2 weeks into dental school, because in dental school, between dental anatomy class, and like a lot of stuff, you have to do a lot of visualizing things, and your professors will put like images, or like there'll be like online textbooks or online applications to help you see an image 3D, but you're not really gonna be able to, you know, visualize it as easily unless you have an iPad that you can like touch and like use your fingers to kind of like move around in and see. So I got an iPad because A, it was helpful for me to see 3D models of teeth, and also B, it was really helpful because I realized the style of learning that works for me is by downloading the notes that the professor gives on an iPad and then writing down the notes onto those notes using an Apple Pencil. And so I would type on top of the PowerPoint presentation that our professor gave us, and I would do this all on an app called OneNote. And so this is why the iPad comes in handy, is because later on when I would go to study like in bed or something, I could use the OneNote app on my iPad to see, you know, the PowerPoint, see the notes that I typed next to it, and then I like to highlight and draw and handwrite things, use my Apple Pencil to like annotate basically all of that. Like, it's that combination of having the original format of the PowerPoint and then typing in what the professor is saying, and then like using my like handwritten notes and drawings and things like that to really like pull it all together. That for me was like the ultimate combination that really helped me do well so far in the first 2 years of dental school, and so that's why I think iPads are super helpful. If you're not someone that really finds it helpful to draw on things or highlight things or write things, then you might not need the iPad, honestly. You might be fine with just a laptop. Along the same lines, to save money, don't feel like you need the newest technology, honestly. People always ask me like, oh, what laptop do you have? What blah 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 do you have? It really doesn't matter what you have or how new it is. All that matters is that you can access the internet, that it is compatible with whatever exam application that your school uses. My school uses ExamSoft or Examplify. I feel like people always ask me this hoping that there's like a magical answer that will get them straight A's, but honestly it doesn't really like matter what laptop you have or what iPad you have. It just matters that like you put in the work. Now we're moving on to the school portion of this video. My best #1 tip for starting out dental school is to make upperclassmen friends. Oh my god, I cannot tell you guys how many times in dental school my upperclassmen friends have saved my life. They've given me tips on, you know, like what to worry about on a certain professor's test, or they've given me tips on how to pass competencies, how to like big ways that they've seen people fail competency. They've given me like all the tips that you could think of, really. Like, they are my lifeline. Well, a lot of times your first upperclassman friend is your big, or at least that's how my school does it. We have like a big little system where you have like a 4th year big, a 3rd year big, a 2nd year big, and like a 1st year like little, and you know, like it's like a sorority, I guess, like a family system. And another great way to make upperclassmen friends is by joining clubs. I mean, people are always willing to help each other out. There's definitely older students that are willing to like mentor you in a sense. So by joining these clubs, you're gonna meet a lot of upperclassmen. I totally understand how it's kind of scary at first to make new friends, especially like kind of like upperclassmen ones, because you know, you're new here and maybe some of you guys are like a little bit more shy. So that's why I definitely recommend that you guys just push yourself to put yourself out there and really like just try to be as extroverted as you can in the beginning, because I promise you it will pay off down the road. Now is not the time to be shy and to stay in your own lane. Now is the time to branch out and, you know, meet as many people as you can. Honestly, the biggest reason why upperclassmen friends are the best is because they know what you should and shouldn't worry about in dental school. And I'll be honest, you worry about a lot of shit in dental school. Like, it's a very stressful time. So if they can alleviate even just like 1% of that worrying, then that is like a huge weight off your shoulders. It'll help you sleep at night. It'll help you focus on the things that you really need to focus on. So yeah. Along the same note, really try to have a good relationship with your professors, your faculty members, people in lab, your TAs. Okay, maybe I am a little bit of a teacher's pet. I've kind of like always been that way, but I just feel like there's no harm in having a good connection with your professors, because A, they want to teach. That's why they did this whole thing. B, they have so much insight into things that you could never even think about. And C, I don't know, it's just nice being like friends with your professors. Like, I like being in a place where I can be like, hey, Dr. blah, 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 how was your weekend? Or like, hey, TA, like, how is this going? Like, it's a nice community feeling, you know? There's a lot of times where things can be graded subjectively, or things can be looked at subjectively. So the more people that you can have in your court to defend you and to support you when needed, like if you can have a professor or a TA or just someone to vouch for you, then that can make a big difference. Along the same lines as that, learn everybody's name. That's kind of like one of the things that I've always done ever since I was little, was if someone helps me out, even if it's like a janitor or like someone random, I still really make it an effort to learn their name. I think just addressing people by their names is just so important. Okay, another tip for school is, I mean, this goes without saying, I can make a whole nother video about this, but you have to have good time management and good organizational skills. There's just like no way around it. But the trick to having this is that there is no trick. It's not like there's one system that's gonna work for everyone. And so the problem and the challenge of dental school is finding the system that works best for you. Personally, I'm not someone that needs like a color-coded calendar. I'm not someone that uses like colored pens or some fancy planner. I literally just fill out like my calendar that's on my like phone and on my laptop, and then I make like daily to-do lists on like a little notebook. So find what works best for you and then really stick to it. Tip number 2, it goes a little bit against what I was saying earlier, where you should like say yes to everything and like put yourself out there, but don't immediately sign up for absolutely everything that you can. Here's why. I know in the beginning, it's gonna feel like you have to have everything figured out, right? You feel like you have to know like if you wanna specialize or not right away. You feel like you have to know like, oh, is this gonna be my thing? Like, you basically start dental school and we're all just trying to find our thing, right? Our thing to cling on. You're like, am I gonna be like a gunner and go for this? Or am I gonna like, you know, do that? And sometimes that can be a trap, because sometimes in your heart, you know that you don't really want something, but you're kind of just going for it because, you know, in order to get into dental school, you're used to living this life of prestigious titles and going after like the highest position possible and all that kind of stuff. That's kind of something that I had to learn in my first year, was like, I feel like in pharmacy school, I was so used to doing like leadership positions and volunteering and extracurricular. I was like an extracurricular girl, right? That was my thing. And so coming to dental school at first, I really like signed up for that because that was my comfort zone, and I'm sure that's the comfort zone for a lot of you people out there. But I outgrew that persona, honestly, and I outgrew that life, and I realized I didn't personally really care about like continuing with XYZ clubs and like all this kind of stuff. And so that's why you really have to do a good self-reflection and think like, do I care about this thing? Do I care about this thing that I'm researching for? Do I care about this club that I want to join and then become an executive position for? Otherwise, doing things that you don't want to do and working in fields or topics that you're not interested in is really just a waste of time. It's draining your energy, and it's not what you should be focusing yourself on, no matter how good it looks on your resume. Give yourself time, and naturally you will find and gravitate towards the things that you're meant to get to. I'm not saying don't have plans if you want to like specialize, of course, and you already know that, but I'm just saying if you're like me and you didn't have those plans, enjoy that emptiness and like really sit in that emptiness, and then you'll find things and things will come to you that you're truly actually interested in. And my last tip for school, I mean, this is the tip that's as old as time, but I just like had to go over it. Do not compare yourself to others. Here's why this tip always pops up in these dental school videos. In dental school, you're suddenly plunged into this new environment that's unlike any other school that you've ever done. And I can say that because I literally went to pharmacy school. Like, this is unlike anything I ever experienced in pharmacy school. Because up until this point, you know, took tests, you wrote papers, you did debates and that kind of stuff. But it kind of felt like all of the work that you did never really felt like it was that public. Like, you could really keep a secret about like your grades or whatnot if you really wanted. In dental school, suddenly it feels like you're exposed because all of a sudden your work as a dental student becomes visual, right? Like, it's not like getting a question wrong on a test. Now it's like, oh, you can see when you messed up your denture, or like you can see when this filling is busted. Everything is suddenly more visual to the world, and because of that you feel more exposed, right? That also means you can look at your neighbor and be like, oh my god, like their XYZ looks so much better than mine. Like, oh my god, how are they already ahead on this? They finished so much faster than me. Suddenly the markers for what you're doing are so much more physical and visual. And that's unlike anything else that you've ever encountered. That's what makes it so hard to not compare, because you can't help but look at the person next to you and be like, oh, how am I doing for time? Where are they at? And then that can really mess with you. It can really psych you out and make you feel insecure about your work. I found that if you just, you know, like put your head down and do your work, put in your headphones maybe, then it's like other people aren't as affecting you as much, and you just like do the work that you're supposed to. Also, I just have to say, there's this phenomenon in dental school, I swear it probably happens at every school that you start in the beginning of the year, where basically everyone's just fronting. I don't know if it's because we all just have big egos or something, but I feel like in the beginning of the school year, everyone was kind of like acting like they did a lot before this, or like they knew a lot, they always knew what was going on, and like that's just not the truth. Just like give it a couple months and you'll see people start to like show their true colors. They're like, oh yeah, I didn't really study for this, or like, oh yeah, like I don't really know what this is. But in the beginning, it feels like everyone's kind of afraid to like expose themselves and expose how little they know. I don't know, maybe that's just how I felt, but I just felt like in the beginning I didn't want to admit if I like didn't know something, or I just felt like everyone was fronting. Like, I can't explain it. You're making your first impression, so basically no one really wants to admit in the beginning how much they're struggling. But I just want you guys to know, that's all a lie. Everyone's struggling. Sooner or later, people are gonna start to show that they're also struggling, and then by the time you're a second year, then everyone's just struggling collectively. Wow, this is gonna be a long video, I think. So